First, let's clear up a potential misunderstanding. The operating system I'm about to explain are privacy-oriented systems. They aren't secret or some kind of deep web information. On the contrary, everything is open and transparent. It's just that this massive intelligence monopoly doesn't want you to be aware that these doors even exist. I am simply pulling back the curtain. The digital world is like an action movie. Someone is always watching you. And sometimes, despite all the precautions I have explained, they keep watching. For example, Microsoft, Google, and Apple send data to their companies the moment you go online. You can try to block this in various ways, but that guarantees nothing. So you either stay offline or you accept that your data will be processed. Most of us have been forced to accept our data being processed because the market consists of just a few companies that have agreements with each other. So in reality, we are facing an intelligence monopoly. Operating systems are developed like spyware. So at some point, it starts to feel like fate. But there is always a way. Here is a completion of the most secure operating systems I have prepared for you. I have mentioned Linux and custom ROMs before, and this video answers the question, which Linux, which custom ROM? While doing these installations, you need backup your data, because you will starting from scratch as if you bought a brand new computer or phone. You can't recover the past, but you can take control of everything from now on. The logic of Qubes is to run a separate virtual machine for each application inside the same computer, all isolated from one another. Its main purpose is to force attackers and trackers into separate cells. Since there is no interaction between applications, this acts as a wall. Even if your data gets stolen, only that application's data is compromised. The rest of the machine remains inaccessible. For example, if you download an infected PDF, the virus only affects the virtual machine running the PDF viewer. The moment you close that virtual machine, the virus disappears. All your other files stay safe. Its only downside, hardware requirements are a bit picky. It needs Intel VTX or AMD V. Also, it's a bit hard to learn, but for security, it's worth it. Applications, whether good or malicious, when they enter a device, can plant roots deep into your computer and constantly collect data. Qubes solves this radically. Instead of letting them root in an open file, it traps them in an isolated pod. Even if the soil in one pod is poisoned, the rest of the field remains untouched. Throw that pod away, and the thread disappears with its roots. There is no point in a malicious application settling into the deep layers of a virtual machine that will never be used again. Think of it as using many computers at once, and when you are done, you never use that particular computer again. In short, that's what Qubes OS does. Calyx is designed to leave no trace and provide anonymity. It's loaded onto a USB flash drive and runs in your computer's temporary memory. It routes all data through the Tor network, making it impossible to track you. I mean all data streams, including updates. Your IP is hidden. Your location can't be determined. I have already talked about the Tor network in my video Become a Cyber Ghost. Calyx has its own persistent storage, and only what you save there remains after shutdown. Once you remove the USB stick, it's all as if the computer was never turned on. So to store your files, you can use external drivers, Proton Drive, the sponsor of our series, which I mentioned in the video, Data Loaded Clouds. You decide how suitable this is for daily use. But for me, it's ideal. It's a piece of software I carry in my keychain, and whichever computer I plug into, it becomes my computer. Keep in mind, persistent storage is part of the USB drive itself, and the space is relatively limited, so you need to use it carefully. That's why external storage or Proton Drive is much more practical for me. For example, it makes more sense to keep my video archives on an external drive and include only the editing program in persistent storage. Of course, you can set up your own system depending on what you use your computer for. Whonix is an operating system made of two virtual machines. One machine is connected to the internet, the other is not. Whonix proposes to use a gateway between these two VMs to isolate all operations from the internet while making them anonymous. This gateway makes all traffic and operations anonymous. The internet connect site uses the Tor network, just like Tails. Internet traffic cannot reach the non-connected virtual machine, so any malicious software that tries to enter the computer won't work. This is more suitable for daily use, because when you turn off the computer, your data isn't erased. Your data stays completely isolated and safe inside offline virtual machine. Now the mobile side, Graphene is built specifically to block Google. It's the most secure and privacy-focused fork of Android. Using a sandbox, it can mimic Google service and prevent data from being sent to Google. At the same time, because it's hard to hack, it's the nightmare of intelligence agencies, police and corporations. It has a strict security philosophy. Banking apps and some platforms won't work on it. Ironically, it runs on Google's own Pixel phones. But it was announced that in 2027, Motorola will release a phone in partnership with Graphene. That's great news for people who understand up for their rights, because starting next year, you will be able to have a secure operating system without any technical know-how. Still, after it comes out, I think a new review will be needed to see what's changed. I don't know if this counts as a promo, but I'm thinking of buying that phone. For the first time, all the ideal requirements for the Graphene team will be met. To closest rival to Graphene OS, Calyx OS also run only on Google Pixel phones. It's easier to install, but mimics Google service OpenSearch Micro-G. Its standout feature compared to Graphene is that it focused on running all applications while making minimal compromises on security. It's more open to hacking than Graphene, though still hard to hack, but it's more convenient to use. VPN and firewall come built into the OS. Which operating system you use is up to you, but these are secure operating systems I know. What they all have common instance against the intelligence monopoly of default operating systems, refusing to let authorized and merchants trample on your human rights. You may have noticed it. Perfect security doesn't exist. The ultimate level of security is to not use a computer or phone at all. Still, we have to do our best. And for that, I have shown you how to remove corporations from your life. For installation, you can look up Qubes online. I'm Mert Tamtürk. I am known only as a much as I allow.